2 questions that we ask.
No, 1 question, 2 answers. You said this last time.
Oh, okay. I've already forgot. I'm not looking at my notes. 1 question, 2 answers.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If you could go back to your past self at any point in time, what would you tell yourself?
Number 1, there is no rush. No rush. Like, keep patience. For me, it's like I've always been the type of person when it comes to like relationships, things that I want, or like anything, just whatever. Relax. Like it will come to you when you need it, when you want it, or when you can afford it, or when it's time. Like I always would go looking for things that I wasn't ready for. And I'm like, okay, I'd put myself in a situation and I'm like, oh, shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I could have saved myself $2,000, but cool. Whatever. It was an experience. So like nowadays I think of things with patience. I'm like, you know what? Time is endless. Where I put my time is definitely important, but there's no rush to time.
It's the construct of our world. It's what our parents put on us.
And it's like what we see too. It's like I see so-and-so doing this. I see so-and-so doing this. And then you're like, why am I not there? But it's like, well, that's good for them, but that's not my time yet. Like I'm going to get there, or it's going to be my time. So when I think of timing, it's like timing is everything. Like your destiny is written. What you do with your destiny is also like it's in your control, because everything you do is in your control. There are things that you'll be thrown out by the outside world, but it's like at the end of the day, just like hone it down. Like hone it down. Patience. It's only going to take you so far. Like when you build a level of patience to any type of BS that the world has to give to you, you've literally honed down on anything that can happen.
Yeah.
That's just number 1. What would number 2 be?
That number 1 was good.
Number 2, I think
solid number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2 is I think just like never settle. Like don't compromise when it comes to your red flags or your checklist or certain things. It's like if this truly doesn't meet to your checklist, don't compromise. You have a whole life ahead of you to find what you need, who you need, whatever it may be. Like be okay with being alone, because when you're okay with being alone, you're going to know what really works for you. When you have somebody around you 24/7 or always there to like nitpick you, or like you go vent to them and complain to them about something, it's like, okay, if that person wasn't there, how would I handle it?
Yeah.
I don't want to be a show in front of like public and like be that type of person that nobody wants to be around because I can't handle my emotions or like what's going on in my life. Like I want to be that person that people come to.
It's also just self-reliance. Because if you're like always reliant on venting to a specific person, then like that's become your safe gate. And then therefore in the future, like how would you do it?
Exactly.
Like you said, like if that person wasn't around. You just sometimes got to be able to handle yourself.
Like how you healthy cope, like coping mechanisms. Like coping goes a long way. It could just be with your addictions. You're like, how am I going to cope with this correctly? For me, when I'm trying to get out of a bad addiction or like anything that I think is just not good for my health, I just work out. Like, honestly, I sweat it out. Because I'm like, I feel the best when I sweat it out. Like, I'm like, I really put in that work. Like, I sweat out all the toxins, all that bad juju.
Yeah.
I think I'm okay. Like, I'm okay. And then count your blessings. Be grateful for everything you have, because a lot of times people don't realize it. Like, we are so blessed.
Yeah, totally.
You have a family that's going to look out for you. Yeah. When I say our parents are really up our butts about everything, it's for the right reason. Yeah, you get on my nerves. Yeah, you're really strict, whatever. But it's like, without them, do you realize where we would be right now?
Your parents, I've always said this, your parents raise you to the best ability that they think they can, or they will.
Yeah.
So it'll always be that way. Like, you may not agree with them, you may not whatever, but like for the majority, unless there's terrible family situations, but the majority, if you're trying to be a good parent, they will always raise you to the best they can.
And they've seen it.
Yeah.
They've seen what the world can give to you. So they're like, I don't want that for my kids. And when you think about the kids that you're going to bring to your like the future, you're like, well, I'm going to either bring them in or I'm not going to bring them in.
Yeah.
But if I do, I want to make sure that they have choices. They have options. They have the ability to make their own choices. But I'm going to lay down a foundation for them regardless. So if you think of that mentality about how your parents are, it's just, they're their day and time. That's how strict things were. That's how orthodox things were. Conservative things were. I come from that background, but my mom still was able to adapt. I'm still able to adapt. And I'm still able to go back to my culture and like my roots. Because that's essentially who I am. Otherwise, I would be every typical American teenager.
Exactly.
American adult, or whatever you want to call it, that Western bred. But that's not who I am. I'm gonna pick everything I can from any culture that I can appreciate and like enjoy and be grateful for, because we need a rainbow in this world. We really need a rainbow in this world.
Yeah.
It's not.
Amen to that.